Right, welcome to Talking Ball with Bill Flowers. Basically, we need to talk about the Tennessee game going out. We're going to go back in time for that. We're going to get ready for LSU. Probably going to have some 2003 stories because I love talking about that game, and Bill probably hates it, but sorry about that, Bill. Anyway, what'd you think Saturday?
Well, it was exciting. I was actually on a father-daughter retreat and didn't get a lot of reception, so I had to catch a little bit here and there, and finally caught the last quarter and got some highlights. And uh, man, that was I've heard some stories about that place about it being so loud, and I heard Kiffin just say it was like nothing he's ever experienced before. Um, But man, I'll tell you one thing: our defense actually stepped up. It looked like they had actually changed the scheme a little bit. They came down much more in the box. The bit that I saw in the beginning, I was terrified. The first quarter, I thought we were on our heels. We were getting blasted. They were controlling us. I felt like uh, at the end of the first quarter they outplayed us, but somehow we were in front. They had a muff punt. I just feel like we were overwhelmed. We were on our heels the first quarter. But again, hey, I'll take it being up. And felt like as time went on, we started to catch the momentum. And poor Matt, you know, I've said it every time. It's bad business. So your 200-pound quarterback is your running back. Like that's bad business. Not good for long term success. But he put it on his shoulders and rode us home. But our defense really did a good job. I felt like we made some adjustments. We It's almost like we kind of abandoned a little bit the 3-2-5 and 3-2-6 and brought more people in the box. They definitely brought a lot of pressure, and that's what I told you early on, Steven, is that our defense is not built to not bring pressure. You have to bring pressure. You have to, 100%. And I just felt like our defense really stepped up. And what a way to be able to handle that hostile environment. That's a really difficult situation to be in. The defense, not so much, because you're just a junkyard dog. That you have one job, and that is to stop the opponent. But from an offensive standpoint, for us to be able to hang in there and what Matt did was truly awesome, and he's paying for it. And you know, for us to be able to hold him off after the fiasco of 45 seconds that turned into 30 minutes, you know, kudos. And don't worry, I gave my dad a lot of crap. I said you are never, ever, under any circumstances, allowed to tell me that any university uh, is lower class than another university, because Tennessee uh, showed themselves pretty bad. And I've got a lot of family members that are UT fans, and unfortunately, you know, they're having to reap the consequences of what some of those people did. But uh, you know, kudos to Ole Miss to hanging in there.
Yeah, that's normally a game that historically Ole Miss has lost. It felt a whole lot like the LSU 2014 game that for some reason went down to Tiger Stadium. It was a cauldron. They were up. They were going crazy, and we just couldn't do it. And LSU ended up beating us like 10-7 to break our undefeated streak that was going on. Memphis the next year, they were completely up. What was going on? We dropped that game. So historically, Ole Miss has struggled in those type of games. Oh, by the way, my favorite joke right now is Joe Milton is apparently the only player in Neyland Stadium who didn't want to throw something. Um,
Yeah, that's you poor guy. You knew when he crossed the line, he was just like, "Oh no, what did I just do?"
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, that was pretty bad.
yeah. And the benefit they get Alabama this week. So have fun,
Yeah.
Tennessee, with that one.
Well, I will tell you this. Um, Listen, if there's a team out there that has mojo, whatever you want to call it, Auburn, they've gotten away with so many different things. They have, it's just, whatever they have, I'll take some of it. And, for us to walk away from Arkansas game the way that we did, history is not on our side. Uh, to go to go UT to get the call that we got on fourth down, 4th and 25. Historically, we usually don't get close calls. That was the right call. The ball was behind the line. Shame on us for allowing that to even be that close. But listen, things look to be going in the right direction. And I'll tell you, besides the Memphis game, when I was in our 2003 season, when things start clicking, you feel good. And I'll tell you, I've told you this before the Alabama game, I hate off weeks because I feel like when you get momentum and you get things going and you stop and then you have to play a big game, it sucks. And I feel like at least we got that off week out of the way. And I think that Ole Miss looks to be really moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, we have a lot of injuries, but like you said, historically there's some games that we shouldn't have won just from the fact of close games, what happens, and it looks like Ole Miss is turning the corner. And as we start talking about the LSU game, we'll discuss that further.
Yeah, I want to go back in time talking about games that Ole Miss shouldn't win. You obviously were on the team when Ben Obamanu dropped that pass in the end zone.
Yes, but
what was that like?
But let me tell you something. Do you feel bad for Ben?
Not me. I watched that game.
But what did he get? What did he get before the drop?
What? No, tell me.
He got a touchdown that was in Von Hutchinson's hands. That Vaughn went up, caught the ball, and as he was coming down, the ball fell out of his hands. And what happened? A la Georgia, the ball falls into his lap for a touchdown. So they were given a touchdown.
Okay.
Like that. And so then he drops one. So I'm sort of like, hey, listen, we gave you one. The one we gave you wasn't as obvious and blatant as the one that he dropped, but so I kind of chalk that up as an even trade.
What was going through your mind whenever that play at the end of the game happened? Were you watching it? Could you see it?
All I knew was that I was thankful he dropped the ball. I was like, holy crap. Okay. Are you kidding me? All right, I'll take it.
Yeah. With this being Eli Manning Day, that's all the memories came rushing back because they've shown that pass to Lorenzo Townsend like 50 times this week. So it just made me think about that a little bit. Anything else stand out from the game Saturday?
Again, I think our defense, I was really proud of our defense. I think the scheme that we played at the end of the game, we're going to have to implement more. At the first of the game, I think we had to have adjusted well because the first quarter looked terrible. So I was happy to see us adjust. What else? I will say this, and I've had some conversations with somebody earlier today about Plumlee. There's something going on. To me, and I would love to sit there in practice and watch, and I want to see how Plumlee is performing in practice, and what's going on. Is he just not good enough to be focal, to be a focus point? I mean, listen, Parrish is getting the targets. He dropped that ball. He is a Kiffin recruit. He's I understand, but there's something going on that I would like to understand. And one of the things that people don't understand is there's a lot of politics that goes on in football sometimes. Especially, I don't know what it is, but I'm concerned, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would love to see what's going on in regards to Plumlee not getting more of a focal point, not getting involved, Our receivers. I mean, we're in a. You got Sanders. You got Drummond. Drummond doesn't look 100%. You don't have Mingo. Um, uh, you don't have Ely. He's not 100%. And so you're going to tell me that you've got a guy that is. Last time I checked, he was a leading rusher in the SEC. His freshman year. You've got a quarterback that's getting the crap beat out of him. He's got 30 rushes, and I mean, I'm thinking, okay, well, let's try to get this guy involved. Let's try to bring him around. Let's try to put the ball in his hands. Let's try to do something. And that's kind of one thing where I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit, because you're going to have to get more people involved, and we're not going to be able to sit there. I mean, as you saw on Saturday,
Yeah.
Matt Corral put the ball on his, in him, and said, I'm going to win this game for us.
Yep.
And if you're going to bring in a freshman, and you're going to ask him to do things against LSU, and you sitting there with Plumlee, you're going to have to involve Plumlee and let him run the ball some. You're going to you need to use it. You need to use him in ways that makes the defense think what's going to happen, like get him involved. But the thing that I'm concerned about is, why aren't you doing this? Is it, if you get him involved, is it going to create a problem? Is it going to create a situation where people want to see more of Plumlee? And does that go against the philosophy, or does that go against the, that might mess up the mojo or morale of the team? There's just something there, and I'm not there at the facilities to see him playing day in and out, because I'm telling you, the routes for an inside receiver are not nearly as complicated as they are for an outside receiver. And I think the other guys aren't stepping up like they should be. So I think he needs to get that chance.
Yeah, I think what happened, the receivers got hurt. Like you said, Dontario Drummond was injured, and he only got brought in for specific plays as that game went on. Braylon Sanders got injured, and of course Jonathan Mingo is out. So Tennessee basically played a too-high shell the whole game and took away the outside receivers. So the middle of the field was wide open. So it should have been Ja'Cour Pearson, his day in the middle, doing stuff out of the slot. But as we all know, God bless the kid, he had a day. And the only other opportunity was to run the ball up the middle in those draws, because you had the number advantages, and they kept doing it. Glad they figured out how to do it. But at the end of the day, that put a lot of strain on Matt. So this week, I think John Rice is going to run the ball a little bit. They might do a little zone read stuff. Might look a little bit similar to the LSU game last year, just to give Matt a little bit of a break. If they want to attack the middle of the field, yeah.
So here's what I would love to see. I would like to see Plumlee go to the backfield. Matt goes at the receiver. Okay. Plumlee can throw some pretty easy, high percentage passes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get, if we're relying on Matt Corral, who, if he's really as injured as he could be, then you're just going to continue to run him into the ground and break the kid's body. To where if you've got Plumlee, who can create a little bit of a conundrum for the defense, Plumlee is a good or a better runner than Matt Corral. So yeah, he's not much of a thrower, but if you keep on breaking Matt Corral in half, what are you going to have for the long run? And if you put him in there, it allows you to keep the same personnel on the field the entire time, and it makes the defense think. And again, it seems too obvious to something that you would want to do, and that's why I kind of scratch my head of what's going on. Inside slot receivers running. So if you think about it, an inside receiver, the thing that you have to do is understand where your zones are. So if it's man, you go across the middle, You got to run, you got to stack them, you got to get them on your backside, and then you got to make moves to create separation. If it's zones, what you're doing is you're understanding you're going across and you're going to sit down in zones. It's not like an outside receiver where you're man to man and we're going to press up and you're really going to have to work hard at getting open and doing things that a really natural outside receiver is kind of built to do. I don't see anything where Plumlee is not capable of getting the opportunity to do what he needs to do. The kid can catch the ball, he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. That creates a lot of problems for the defense. Now, if you've got your receivers down, you've got one of your best running backs down. Well, you might as well try to start thinking outside the box and start using what you've got instead of just going, okay, well, here we go, Matt. Good luck. Either we're gonna get crushed, or we can continue, or we can use what we got. Try to be a little trickery, put Plumlee in there, run him, try to get some high percentages, keep Matt on the field as an outside receiver. And in 2000 against Mississippi State, Romero Miller caught a touchdown pass against State.
Yep.
So Matt Corral is pretty fast. Listen, run him on a go route, run him on it, do a hitch, just keep somebody out there. On a cover two, just run him in the hole. He's a great athlete. You're going to have to use what you've got. And with as many injuries as we have, you're going to have to do something than to say, well, here's our base formation. Here's what we do. No, we don't have a healthy quarterback. We don't have our receivers, but we're going to try to do it anyways. That doesn't sound like the smartest plan, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah, one of the ideas that I had coming into this is to have Plumlee and Corral in the backfield at the same time, where you can use the quarterback run game with Plumlee just by direct snapping it to him, or you can run your normal offense by snapping it to Matt. Yeah, it's something like that, something creative to get going. Also, Dennis Jackson caught a touchdown pass against Tennessee, his first one as an Ole Miss Rebel. Talk about him a little bit. And it looked a little bit like your catch against South Carolina in 2004, just on the other side of the field. But what do you think about that kid and his potential?
He looks like an outside receiver. He looks like the tall, lanky, quick, fast guy that can stretch a field. But I don't think we've seen enough of him. It's so much of it's been, in the RPO system, a lot of it has to do with your position where you're really reading that outside linebacker, you're hitting it across the middle, you're hitting it in, and then your big deep pass. And I think Sanders has been the guy that they utilize as the outside receiver. So I think that, I like his size, I like his speed, I like his lankiness, but I haven't really been able to see too much of him.
Yeah. I was looking forward to that. And I don't know who's going to play on the other side. I didn't see Jaden Jackson in that game. The other side of the field, Dontario went out there and kind of played wide from time to time. But sometimes it honestly looked like he was just taking up space and just filling a roster spot because he had trouble moving. It was just he had two plays that he could make. He made them, and he ran out of the gas a little bit. And I'm interested to see what this offense will look like against LSU. LSU has – I'm not going to say LSU has found themselves. That's a trap that everybody wants to get into. LSU has found themselves. But LSU has a bunch of athletes on the field that could be dangerous if they decide to get up. If they, with Orgeron getting fired this week and all that going on, there's not necessarily a worriedness that comes with that, but there's just a healthy respect of how good of players they have.
Yeah, I was saying this morning. To think that anybody could give LSU disrespect is just stupid. To me, LSU should be ashamed of themselves if they're not playing for the SEC West Championship every year and possibly a national championship. They have great athletes, and how they have not had better coaching when they had a great offensive coordinator, a great defensive coordinator, and they had Ogeron as their figurehead head coach who was recruiting and just giving them the rah rah rah. You don't coach. You just get out there and motivate. Let the other two guys that are designed to do what they do it. And you saw what they did. They maximized the talent that they had. Any team in the SEC can beat any other team, but when you talk about LSU and you give them an opportunity, like, hey, let's play for the Gipper. We're going to give it all we got for you, Coach Ogeron. And, oh, by the way, we just beat Florida. That's a scary combination. And so, I mean, to me, LSU is not a team that you ever want to just, play. They're down this year, not because of their talent, just because of their situation of, coaching, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have great talent. They have a great team. They just haven't put it together yet.
What's your favorite LSU story from your time playing against them?
So one of my favorite moments of all time in college was my freshman year, redshirt freshman year, right after 2011. I mean, right after 9/11. I think it was our first game back, and we went down to LSU. It was the first time I've ever been to LSU, ever, for a football game. And we drive in, and I'm looking, and we're probably a mile outside the stadium. And at that moment, I knew this is different. And there's grandmas out there raising up their young, like 5-year-old, 6-year-old kids' hands and showing them how to flip a bird. They were throwing stuff at our buses the entire time. We pull up to the bus, and there was a guy in an anthrax suit, a white anthrax hazmat suit. It had anthrax written across it on his chest, and he starts spraying our bus, and it was hilarious. But it was nuts. It was crazy. And so we get off the bus, we go into the stadium, and usually when you walk into a stadium to do your pregame walk, it's pretty empty. Well, no, it was 90% full and loud and crazy. The student section had been liquored up for all day long, and I mean, it just gave you chills as you were walking through. And as we come out for the for the game right before warm-ups, I'm sitting there, and there's the tiger who's just sitting there hungry, growling, and lights are up, and it's completely filled, and it is just the most craziest atmosphere I've ever experienced. And it was like a Rudy moment where you're just sitting there, and I was like, wow, this is what college football is all about. This is what you want to play for. These are the moments that, as a kid, that you're like, the bigger the environment, the more intimidating the environment, the better you play. And if there's an environment that anybody wants to be in, it's that environment. 100% best environment in college football, in my opinion. So that was a great memory. And then going in there against that game, I have a picture, and I got to find it. I'm going across the middle, and I'm kind of glad they didn't have instant replay. I'm going across the middle, and I catch the ball. I get flipped, and I'm upside down. And in the picture, I am literally, my feet are at 12 o'clock, and the ball is at 6 o'clock in my arm. And Gay, the cornerback, has the ball trying to rip it out of my arms. And I don't know if he did or if he didn't, but I remember getting up and thinking, okay, I'm well, they didn't call it a fumble, so we're good. I get up, and I was disoriented, and I walk into the defensive huddle, and I realized what I did, and so I had to walk back. But that was a great game. I mean, I that was one of my favorite experiences down there. I'll never forget Doug Ziegler's catch in the back of the end zone.
Yes.
I mean, that was just an amazing experience. I cut the ball on the 1-yard line going into halftime, and we ended up scoring. I was so upset that I didn't have an end zone. I remember going in there going, I just want someone to throw a beer bottle at my head. You always hear stories about, well, they'll just throw stuff at you. And as long as I don't have my helmet on, I'm fine. So I just, it was one of those experiences where it lived up to everything that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And by the way, do you know why LSU's person mascot was that old rickety, ugly thing?
No,
The person wearing the suit, it was all old and it was like 30 years old.
no, I don't, I
Well,
don't know what you're talking
there's a
about.
reason, but yeah, the guy in the suit, the reason he wore that mascot is because that is the only suit that the tiger would roar at. So they could make the tiger roar by him wearing that suit. So they never bought a new suit. I think by now they've replaced it, but at that
Okay.
time it was all to just to get Mike going.
Yeah. Well, and they also gave us the departing gift of cold water in our locker room. So
Yeah,
that was another fun gift that the LSU Tigers gave us. But hey, we left. We were so excited that we didn't care. It was cold water.
yeah, that was good. And that was I think you guys is only y'all would have come down and beat them the next year. I think it was a scheduling quirk where you
Yeah.
had to go to Tiger
Yes.
Stadium the next year, and Eli threw the ball that bounced off Tremaine's head
Yeah.
in that game, or y'all would have got them twice. That was interesting, and it kind of flows in together because tomorrow this weekend being Eli Manning day, talking
Yeah.
about that game because that LSU game does contribute a lot to his lore.
Oh yeah. No,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone asked me about was Eli, was he always excited for the LSU games? And I said, you would never know. Eli is just easy E. He's just every game was the same for him. So you never could see it as you would see in other people's faces and emotions. But you would think it always had to be something special for him to play down there.
Everybody talks about Easy and what's going on, and Eli. In my opinion, he's the goat that's ever played at Ole Miss. But the only other quarterback that I've ever seen play the position and look like Easy E is what Matt Corral is doing this year.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. So my brother runs a quarterback camp called QB Collective, and Matt. So he's based out of California, and so when my brother, so when Matt was coming, my brother called me. He's like, "Listen, you guys are getting somebody that is special, but he needs to be honed in. He's this kid. This kid's special, and as he matures, you're going to see something really special in him." And my brother was 100 spot on. I mean, and Matt will tell you, he needed to mature. He needed to see that, as he said in the ESPN specials. Um, and he's somebody that is not going to get rattled, but he also has that fire in him that
Mm.
people wanted to see in Eli. People wanted to see Eli, go after somebody, and Matt's definitely got that. He's much more of your modern day, quarterback, but with all the talents and all the intangibles that you'd want. And so I think you're very spot on that.
Yeah. It's interesting, and Matt Corral is the first quarterback. I thought, literally thought Eli was going to be the GOAT, and he was going to be the GOAT throughout my life. At the end of this year, Matt Corral has a chance to walk out of here as the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
From definitely from what he's been able to do,
Mm-hmm.
from running the ball, putting a team on his shoulders, and to be able to do what he's doing, if he can sustain this, and so much of it's going to have to be with our offensive line, being and just people staying healthy. Uh, I'm telling you, Plumlee is going to be a factor in Corral's health. If they can, if they can put Plumlee back there and let him run the ball up the middle, utilize him, it's going to lengthen Corral's health for this remaining of the season. Um, I mean, unfortunately, our offense is revolving around Matt right now, running up the middle, making sure that that they don't give him a free throwing lanes. If you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us on beating us on the ground, and he's doing that. And if he can continue to do that, if he can continue to play the way he's playing, um, and we can, and our defense can withhold, not only do I think that he'll leave Ole Miss as probably for at least this season, the best quarterback to ever come through Ole Miss for in a season, in the way that he's done things, he's probably going to walk away with the Heisman. If we can, as a team, collaboratively, defensively and offensively, keep on winning these close games. And I do not think for 1 second that it will be a third place finish.
Yeah, he's the best player in college football.
He would be, yeah, and I don't think anybody would debate that right now. What they will debate is if he plays against Tennessee, he can't run up the middle like he's supposed to, and Kiffin just leaves him in there and asks him to put the team on his shoulders, and he ends up breaking an ankle, breaking a knee, doing something. So Plumlee's going to be his best friend if he wants to have longevity for the season and the best chance to play for Heisman.
All right, Bill. Thank you very much for stopping by today. I hope everything goes well, and we'll catch you next time, buddy.